in the city of angels. The white with Mike to the torch from his cradle. Jets from Father, spiritual and bright, guiding the vibes, bring wisdom to the night. Telling a story where hearts connect, from LA to Florida with love and respect. Telling a story with soul to soul. Do I ingest, yeah.
Happy Wednesday, everyone. We are back with another episode. I think you guys love us. They keep coming back, Jess.
I think that they either love us or that they are just hooked to maybe the saging and the crystal vibes.
Maybe.
And your laugh. Because you have the best laugh. You really do.
Really?
I love your laugh. I love your laugh. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's so funny. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Well, or maybe the fashion. Minus that one outfit I wore when Christina was on here.
I love that outfit. I love that outfit.
It was so bad. But welcome to Telling the Story, guys. Oh my God. How's your week been? How's your week been
Speaking
going?
of fashion, can we just honor Janet? Janet is on this shirt right now.
I love that shirt.
Yeah, no, I just have to talk about Janet for a moment.
I love coordinate. Like even today, like we could totally like vibe out. Yeah.
I know. It's like we're in each other's heads. But I have to say that with Janet, so our dear friend Jacob, who we love so much, we had a really running inside joke that we were going to all be different versions of Janet one year for Halloween. And this is the one that I wanted. This is the one that I wanted to pick, of course.
You can totally pull that off. Is that going to be your costume?
No, there's something else in store, but
yeah. I can't wait to see what you're going to be for Halloween.
I know.
I have a special treat in store too, so I'm pumped.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I'm going to be Brenda Walsh.
Well, our Halloween next week is next week, I think. Yeah, it's coming up soon. Yeah, Halloween soon. Oh my gosh.
My favorite holiday ever. Yes. How are you doing? How are you feeling?
I'm good. I actually saw something interesting. Did you know that like buffaloes are like terrified of storms?
Okay, wait, hold on. I'm so sorry. I was not expecting this. I thought it was going to be about something breakthrough with like P. Diddy or something like that. I don't know where you were going with. That was not the direction. No, I did not know that. And I need more information because I can give you all the different spiritual insights that Buffalo represents. Yeah. But stop, wait.
Buffaloes are terrified. They're terrified of storms, but they figured out that when they see a storm coming, they run toward the storm because they'll get through it faster versus away from the storm because eventually the storm is going to catch up with them and they're going to have to endure it longer while being a part of the storm.
What?
Yes. Isn't that interesting?
That is really quite fascinating. I will say this, that the buffalo has, oh God, it's like Jacob is seriously here. Full body chills the first time that I worked on our friend Jacob, who we talked about in another episode that has ascended. I was doing energy and Reiki healing work on him. And I was like, there's a buffalo around you. And then he said, oh my God. And he had just painted a buffalo.
Oh, wow.
So I actually have a little crystal that has a buffalo on it when he ascended for me to keep because I think of buffaloes, I think of him.
Oh my God. And guys, before we just started filming the show, we were talking about Jacob because one of her crystals she has to have repaired. That's intense. Oh my God. Well, Jacob, welcome to the show. We have a guest.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But I say this because buffaloes have every animal does, but buffaloes in particular, they have a really beautiful guidance to them, which is about abundance. Because I don't want to be culturally inappropriate, but I believe it's the Native American culture that they would use every single part of the buffalo. Eating it, using it for the fur to keep them warm. And so it represents this sense of abundance. So that's the one part that I knew, but I did not know this part of how that they go through the storm.
Buffaloes run toward the shit. They don't run away from it.
What do you think? How do you feel about that? Whereas obviously we know where the metaphor is about life, but how does that resonate for you? Because I don't feel like it's always I don't know. It depends on the situation if you really do want to run towards the storms, I guess, of your life. It's so funny. I just talked about this on a different live of the 3Ds is what I call to help you to stay calm in the storms. But I'm curious about what your thought is about this with the
So
buffalo.
I feel like some storms you can't avoid. So if I'm thinking of
Mm-hmm.
a buffalo is out, in the wilderness, and the storm is coming.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're gonna have to deal with it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this metaphor is really appropriate for shit that you know you're gonna have to deal with. Oftentimes, what happens
Mm,
is we try to avoid it or we procrastinate. So think of like
mm,
last week, for instance, we talked about an ex, and we
right.
didn't potentially tap into this, but like typically
Mm-hmm.
most breakups are not surprises. We see it
Mm,
coming. We see the storm
that's
coming.
true.
I did an episode on
Mm-hmm.
Just 1 Minute called The Hurricane, where it talks about like, the energy is different. You can tell they want to have this conversation, but both of you, you have your sweaty palms and your heart is beating fast, and you
Mm-hmm.
know the phone calls have changed. You know they're having a short temper with you. You know that when they call you, you're annoyed. Like the storm is coming,
Mm-hmm.
but instead of
Mm-hmm.
avoiding it and running from it, you're making it worse. So like just rip the band-aid off and just,
Mm,
get through it and perhaps become friends, like in your case, or in my case, go your separate ways.
mm,
So I feel like, when it comes to the storm, there are some storms, unfortunately, we have to deal with. And and
mm-hmm.
I think of my business, for instance, there have been moments where,
Oh yeah.
I've had to make choices. Like I've
Mm-hmm.
seen a situation coming and I tried to
Mm-hmm.
avoid it. And the avoidance have made
Mm-hmm.
it worse. When honestly, I have to just go ahead on and tackle it. I'm still going to go through the storm, but at least I'll get through it faster if I decide to actually get it over with than avoiding it and the storm catches up with me, if that makes sense.
It's really, I feel like I want to like have a therapy session about this, but I will say this. I feel like there's a quote that Joe actually always shares. He's like, "How can you be like best to your future self?" And I think that's
Mm,
kind of something that we're going into here, but like not, but it reminds me of that, of going towards the storm so that you can really just get it out of the way so that you can just be more in that future energy of what you're manifesting and what you are creating. Because as we know, issues live in our tissues. So when we avoid a lot of the different storms, that can start to have a different energetic hold on us.
mm-hmm.
And I think that sometimes it takes really intense situations for us to then address those deeper issues. And we also, though, I will say this, I think that depending on the situation, there are people who I think do avoid the storms because it's not safe. So I don't feel like we're obviously talking about it in that
Right,
context, right?
right.
Or it's a survival method. But three things that I did share about how you can be the calm in your storm. I call it the 3Ds. One is discover, two is desired outcome, and three is direct the energy. So the first is like discover more information. Quite often we just can lose our shit before we know what's going on. So I think it's really important to say to yourself, do you have the time to wait for your mud to settle before you decide to just be reactive, right? So discover more. The second would be to get so clear on the desired outcome. And it goes into this beautiful quote from A Course in Miracles: those who are certain of the outcome can afford to wait and wait without anxiety.
Mm,
Those who are certain of the outcome can afford to wait and wait without anxiety. When you have that desired outcome, even if there are different storms that come into the way, and I talk about my sister in her journey with cancer, because my desired outcome was for her to be alive here and well. That did not obviously translate in what did happen. However, that having that focus on that desired outcome is what kept me going for 3 years.
yeah.
So that's, I think, key. And the third is to direct the energy. I think that quite often when we're in the storms, we can get so caught up in them. That's important to direct the energy by asking yourself, what do I require right now? What is it that I really need for me in order to kind of weather these storms?
Right. And it's
Mhm.
interesting. And so today's topic, guys, is actually telling the story.
I forgot what our topic was, but now I remembered. Thank
it,
you for
it's
bringing that
it's
back.
yeah, it's about failure.
Mm-hmm.
telling the story about failure. And I think for me, it's a really challenging, topic for me to tackle because, not to sit here and say I've never failed, but I've never failed a lot, And I think it's
Mm.
because I analyze the storm. So that's the other piece I want to say. Like, I decide
Ooh.
if this is a storm I can avoid. So, like, if I were a buffalo in the field and I see there's a shed I can run to, guess what? I'm running to that shed. I'm not going to run to the storm. But like, if that's my only
Mm.
option that I have to go ahead on and get this over with, then absolutely. So like, definitely you want to analyze the situation, analyze your storm, and really look
Mm-hmm.
at the choices you can make. If it's a
Mm-hmm.
God forbid domestic violent abusive relationship, I'm not telling you to run
Mm-hmm.
into a fight, but I am telling you
Mm-hmm.
to fight, okay, to get out.
Mm-hmm.
That you know get that
Mm-hmm.
plan. Go live
Mm-hmm.
with family in another state. Like,
Mm-hmm.
do what you have to do to protect yourself. So
Yeah.
oftentimes I don't mean like a hurricane. It might be a drizzle, whatever it is. Like,
But
do
that's
what you
still
can
going
do.
towards the storm because that's still going towards the storm in a good way of like you're
Yeah, in a
approaching it
good
of
way.
like,
So I'm saying,
yeah,
yeah, like I'm
yeah,
saying, like analyze it.
yeah.
So I don't want someone to listen to this and say, yeah, I need to go home and fight this person. Absolutely. Let me walk into the storm.
Well, maybe,
No.
maybe you do. Maybe you
Well, or
do.
maybe or maybe it's not safe to do that. Do what it
No,
is
I'm just kidding.
to
Yeah.
protect your human, to keep you safe. And I think that's so, so important. And I
Yeah.
think that's why, and when we do go into our topic today, I'm looking forward to sharing, experiences where I've experienced an L. And when I say L, I don't mean loss, I mean a lesson. I think people are like, oh man, I took the L. No, you didn't take a loss, you took a lesson
I
and you
thought you were
learned
talking
from it
about the
and grow.
train, the subway. I'm not from New York, but I'm like, oh, they're on the L. Isn't that
The
like
L
something like
train. No,
um,
you know the urban slang. The kids are like, man, you took an L. You took an L. You lost.
I
No, I did not lose. I got a
mm,
lesson. And Jess, before you say you don't know what that is, I am older than you, so you better pretend right now. You better
well,
pretend and Google after the show.
I know that we're going to get into the subject, but I just have to talk about an L from just to add on to this is that what I learned from my teacher, who I always mention, we have to have him as a guest. He would
I would
totally,
love to have David
he would,
on the
he would be
show
amazing.
as a
Yeah.
guest. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
It would be so awesome. I'm going to have to
Make it
ask
happen. Tell him the
DJ.
story and
Yeah. Yeah.
bring him
Yeah. No, I seriously will. I will. But so one thing that he talks about is that these three different things typically add up for people who've gone through post-traumatic stress, who've gone through post-traumatic growth. Okay. And we can look at trauma as when our whole worldview is flipped upside down. And so here was the three different things that people found to in this like research. And I forgot where he pulled up the study. And this was like his digestible breakdown of it. So these three things are typically what you find to be in common for people who've gone through trauma and have come out with growth and on the other side. Number one is it's CFL. So the C is that they looked at their situation as challenging versus life threatening. First
Ooh,
one.
okay.
Second one was F, that it was that this is a finite moment versus infinite. And we saw that too. That should be it. You know what? That would be. We should come up with our own. We should come up with our own. But no, we saw this a lot in COVID, where so many people who were kind of maybe taking COVID, and I don't want to say thriving, but looking at it from a different lens, they were like, it's not going to always be like this. But the people
I was someone that thrived. I did. I thrived.
Yeah, I totally did too. I mean, and I'm not trying to discredit like COVID and its impact, but you did see people who were like, when is this going to end? This is going to go on forever. It's never going to be the same, right? And I'm not saying that things are now different, but right, you get where I'm going. And then the L here, lesson, that they found some type of lesson or growth within the situation. So they took the L.
Yeah, I know for me, my New Year's resolution was to find the silver lining in all situations.
Oh
And
God, I'm so sorry.
I know I fell off that for a couple months and I did get back on the wagon. And yeah, that was this is the year that I was literally like, F you, Dwight. I want to make your life really hard. I kicked the year off with that being my New Year's resolution. Then on my birthday wish was I can boss up in every area of my life.
What
Not
were you
realizing,
thinking?
Right, not realizing, every aspect of being a boss is not fun. You have to do some really unfun things when you're the boss.
Yep.
It costs to be the boss. I think Aretha Franklin said that. Whoever.
Oh, I love that. I'd never have actually heard that, and I feel really super lame for not hearing that, but that is amazing.
Yeah,
Wow.
it costs to be the boss, and it has cost me a lot this year. And now that I'm finally in month 10, I'm embracing it. I'm so
Mm.
excited that we're getting to a new year because I'm gonna have a cheesy like resolution. Like my New Year's resolution is to eat a cookie once a month, some shit like that. Like,
You're like, this has taught me to bring it down a notch. My
yeah, bring it down a lot.
overachieving, ambitious energy is like, I feel like that's a great.
Yeah, try a new flavored cookie every month, okay? And then my birthday is the week after, and that birthday wish is gonna be, my wish is for, oh my God, what can the wish be? My wish is to get a new pair of boots, like for free, that are fabulous. Okay, like seriously,
Yeah.
I really did a doozy on myself this year. Like I was like, just throw it all at me. Here I am.
You know what? I just have to be transparent for 1 second before we go to break. One thing I kept saying before we entered into 2024, because as a spiritual work and, all the different lives and things that I do outside of here, I kept talking about 2024, how it's the number 8. And everybody's like, oh my God, 8 is going to be great. And 8 is infinity and all these different possibilities. But I also knew that 8 in the tarot deck is the strength card. So this was going to be the year of strength. And I kept really reaching, okay, for every single life. But deep down, I freaking knew that this year was going to test not only myself, but so many of us in these areas of strength. And I remember saying to one of my friends who's also a fellow meditation teacher and a Reiki, she's one of my Reiki students, she's a Reiki practitioner. I said to her, I was like, I'm really trying to like find the positive here. And she kept reaching, and we're both like, no, we totally, yeah, no. They're just, it is what it is.
So
that's what this year was.
This is the year of the gym. We'll be back.
Greetings, Inspired community. It's Jess with Just Be Inspired. If you're looking to bring balance and positivity into your life, I'm here to support you. Through my Reiki sessions and handpicked selected of healing crystals, I will help to guide and align your mind, body, chakras, and spirit. Whether you're new to energy work or have been on this journey of healing for a while, I have the tools to help you feel centered and empowered. Visit justbeinspired.com or follow me at justbeinspired, and let's heal together. I can't wait to help you stay inspired.
So everyone, we are back and we are still celebrating Year of the Gym, which means basically you go to the gym, you work out, it's building your strength. It feels like hell, but you look great doing it. So we're all gonna look fabulous next year.
I don't know if I'm looking fabulous. I will say this though, I have lost 20 pounds like recently.
The year of the gym.
I did, but here's how it happened. I went into the ICU and I was in the hospital. So I joked with my partner, and I was like, oh my God, this is like hilarious, because literally he's like, you got scared straight into losing weight. Like, this show is Scared Straight. Like, I was trying all these different things, and like the only thing that worked was like, you know what? A trip to the ICU, a trip to the hospital. That's actually what got me to lose the 20 pounds.
So new Year's resolution. Okay, it's to eat a cookie every month, but not gain weight from the cookie.
I was going to tell you to add that part in. When you said that, I was like, what would make this even better is if you actually said you're not going to, yeah.
And my birthday wish is not to gain weight from the cookies.
I love that. I think that why not add a different food group? Like, why not just be like, okay, like that's like the resolution. And then for your birthday, it could be like that you're going to eat pizza and not gain weight. You know what I'm saying? Like, add a little bit more to this to expand it differently.
Yeah. That's very overachieving. I'm afraid of the the fine print. This year, I literally said "Boss up" and we see what happens, and I said "silver lining." So let's take it way back. Let's
The fine print. The fine print.
gets you.
I cannot. I
Gets you
cannot.
every time, guys. It gets you every
We're
time.
gonna have to come back to like seriously like these New Year's resolutions towards the end of the year with this like podcast of like where we've revisited this. But I do have a question for you that just to jump into this. Why do you think that why is failure so challenging? I mean, there's so many layers, and I know I'm asking you an ambiguous question, but even for, let's just say for you and your context, because you were so transparent, why is failure a big thing for you?
Why is
Or
failure?
for people?
I just think failure is not. I don't know. Like, I'm not afraid to fail. Like, I'm not afraid to fail. That's the interesting part of it.
Okay.
Not to sit here and brag and say I never fail, but I really hardly ever fail at
You're
things.
like, I don't.
Like,
I don't.
so it's kind of like on Mean Girls when all the girls were like saying all the bad things about themselves, and Katie was like, "I have bad breath in the mornings," and they're like, and she's like, "What? Like, I'm happy with my body. Like, I'm, And when
Right.
it comes to that, I think people are afraid to fail because it's embarrassing. It's it
It can be
hurts.
heartbreaking.
It can be heartbreaking. So I think those can be some reasons. But I'm going to ask you the question: why are you afraid to fail? Because you failed last week on the part you're trying to skip right now of name that story. You're not slick, lady. So why are you afraid to fail the name that story? Because last week, and you
I
survived.
failed.
You came
I
back
survived.
and
I
you look great
survived.
doing it, and you're gonna
Thank
today
you.
you're gonna do it again.
Why do I think failure is so hard is because I think that we have demonized failure and like we've associated failure as a society as that you're not good enough, you messed up. It's like it automatically goes usually to a space I find for myself or even other people perhaps can relate to this, that it's like, what did I do wrong? Right? Like, where did I participate in this failure? And I remember Josie Marin actually said this. She's like, a mistake is just that. It's just a mistake.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn. But I think that I mean, there's some things I can offer around failure that like are helpful. But I think like for me, if I'm invested in something like my business, like having this year, like to be honest with you, like not having that that time when I got out of the hospital and like I felt like a fucking failure. Like I was just like,
But
oh
this
my
is not,
God.
you're not a failure. You're just having a moment. And I guess that's
I
why,
know.
and
But
that's why, like when we came up with this topic, it was really hard for me to be like, okay, here are areas I failed in, which I am gonna share. But like I'm not afraid of failing. Like, I refuse to fail. And I can't wait to even share another story, like a very empowering moment that happened with my company where like I'm like, this can't fail. Like it has to succeed. Like this will not fail. And I just have that warrior mentality around so many things in my life. But I do think the things that I'm afraid of failing at, I just avoid. Perhaps that's what it is. But
oh shit. Okay.
what
Go
you're
to
doing
name
now,
go
she's
go to
avoiding.
name.
You see the transition, everyone? Perfect. All right. So for
I'm
name that
staging.
story,
Damn it. I keep forgetting. I'm gonna just
the
start
last
staging
week you
during this.
staged and you missed it. So maybe you shouldn't. You staged
You know,
right before.
I think
You know
I did
what?
say I think I
You
did
stage,
stage and I'm
you
staging
only
again.
stage
I'm
yourself,
staging
though.
again.
You
And I
only
have my
stage yourself. You have to stage everyone else.
and
That's
I
why.
that's why I failed.
Yep,
Thank you.
because you were
Because I was
selfish on the
selfish.
stage.
And I have my lithium quartz in my other hand for people who can't see, which does contain lithium. I just want to state that. Like it's amazing. Yeah.
Like lithium
All right.
batteries.
Like lithium, like the drug that they would prescribe for people to chill out for their failure.
Okay.
No, but no, have you not heard, have you heard of like lithium? It's like
I have
literally
not
like
heard
it's
of
like
lithium.
it's one of the most intense. I mean, I don't know enough about it, but it's like something that they prescribe like to like for like it's like hardcore, like to chill you out. So this actually does contain lithium, so it's really great to chill me out during telling the story or name that story.
Well, let's chill out. So the first clue, okay. A young boy
Right.
discovers he has magical abilities.
Okay, I'm here for this.
All right. He attends a
Okay.
special school for wizards.
Okay. Yes.
He experiences a vivid dream. He experienced vivid dreams and visions.
Okay.
He's often guided by his intuition. He
Okay.
faces a dark and powerful enemy. He forms a strong bond with friends who help him on his journey. He went to high school at West Beverly High.
Wait, now I'm fucked.
I'm joking. Learns about you sounded too confident. He learns about his destiny through prophetic visions. He battles mythical creatures and overcomes challenges using his intuition.
I love this. Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
You know what's so crazy? Do not judge me right now. I have not sat through one of those movies without falling asleep.
I've never sat through them either.
What is going on? And I feel like I'm missing the boat. I've never watched
them like consistently. I've only picked up bits and pieces from various ones, but I know the story.
But you do know the story. And I will just say this though, what's so crazy is I tried to get into reading the books, couldn't do it. And then I feel so bad though, because everybody that I really do like love and really respect, like even one of my friends, like is literally getting a Harry Potter tattoo, like sleeve as we speak. Like I love them, and the people who love Harry Potter, I'm like, I have to get into this because I love these people,
but
and I can't
get into it. You literally got it correct without ever reading the book or watching a full movie.
But why are we falling asleep and not paying attention to these?
I think because it's made for kids, and we're adults.
I love kids stuff though. I do.
We're adults, but you don't even like kids. remember the time the kids were at right over your booth touching all your crystals and you're like, no, put me by the hot guys.
Listen, at the end of the day, I will say that, like, you know what's so funny is that kids always like me. It's like that's the vibe though. That's what I get.
Yeah, because you have great energy. You like kids. You just don't like other people's children.
I don't even think that that's like fair. Well, I mean, I love my niece and my nephew. I really do. Yeah. I do. Yeah, I do love kids. I do. But you know what? Talking about failure, that's a really interesting topic because I don't want to have, children, at least that's what it seems like. And it's funny because every psychic that I've been to, even before I got into this work, I would go to just like get readings, and they would always tell me that I was going to have a little boy, which I think is now just Pepe, my dog, that they're picking up on his energy.
It probably is Pepe, but you might have a little boy.
Oh God. And but there's a society pressure like that.
Lithium. You can name Lithium.
That would be the opposite of probably what that child would bring. But no, I just feel like but like there is a lot of society pressure of like that you could feel like a failure for not having kids as a woman. There's so much shame that comes around that.
It's so much shame that comes around that. Yeah.
So what are your stories of failure?
Okay,
Mr. Non-failure.
A moment that I
love that we started off with a moment.
The moment that I had failure that was one of my challenges around my marriage. Like, I felt like a failure when I announced to everyone I was going to get a divorce. I felt like, oh wow, I failed at something, and that was really hard for me. And I had to honestly take inventory of what I learned through my marriage to switch my mindset. So that's one thing. The other thing that
wait. Let's dive into that for 1 second. Switching your mindset in what way? Of how did you look at it? Just curious.
The silver lining. Like I had to say, like I grew. I know what I deserve as far as our partnership. I knew what type of love I wanted to give. I knew how I was going to be as a husband. These were things I would have never discovered about myself had I not been married. And I was fortunate that my marital situation actually put me in a predicament where I was able to discover these things on my own time. And I didn't have his influence like within my home because we lived separately for so long that I was able to actually navigate through these things on my own versus like, it's hard to go through a breakup or a divorce with the person right there in the bed with you. So that was a privilege for me.
Wow. Yeah, it is. It's really hard. It's really challenging. Yeah. Of somebody who's done that. Yeah.
So that was like a little teaser, but the real story is
I love it. You're like, that was a real teaser. Mind you, there's like so many people that are like traumatized from getting divorced. It's like, I like literally cried about that during, you know what I mean? I'm like, I love that.
And being the Capricorn I am, you can guess what my story is going to be about.
It's going to be about work. Which I can totally relate. Like I would be devastated right now. I mean, I was just devastated for like a couple months when my business was like suffering. You know what I mean? Like when I got out of the hospital and I was slow. Like so I go for it because I'm here for it and I can relate. Yep.
Well, I ended up after leaving Josie Marin, I went to a big company where I was regional. Within this company, I was promoted really quickly, and I'll never forget my mentor at the time ended up leaving the job and like left with like setting the place on fire basically, and his replacement, unfortunately, the retail partner we worked with was not a huge fan of his. Like they just
Okay.
did not gel right. And the only person that the company trusted that had the experience of working with this retailer was me. So I literally went from being a regional manager to a retail manager for a retailer account to the director of sales within like 3 months, and I had no training and no one taught me how to manage business on that level. Like literally my next promotion would be freaking VP. And I will never forget when I got this promotion and they let me know you're going to be making six figures. I was so stressed out that I called off from work the next day and I was just traumatized. I remember walking around the cities of Manhattan because I felt guilty that basically my boss was getting demoted, who was going to have to report into me. Talk about weird tension there, who was not going to quit the job because if he quit, he knew he couldn't get his unemployment. So he was just like, I'm staying
Smart.
here, and he also said to me, like, I feel sorry for you in this situation because you're not even prepared for this role and no one's here to train you. And I'm going to help you as much as I can, but they don't want me in that account.
It's like Devil Wears Prada. It's like
Yeah.
you are so not cut out for this, but like
It was like it was just so. But no, he was really sweet about it, and he was right.
No,
like,
I know. I'm kidding.
And I remember being like paranoid on my first call with the retailer. They ripped apart my agenda. Like I was just so afraid.
Oh my God!
Of
No,
this position. Like I was so terrified, and so I ended up staying there, and every day afraid I'm gonna fail. I'm gonna fail. This is gonna fail. And so eventually, what I did was I, prayed, meditated, found out my best friend back home was really, really sick, and I needed to go home. We thought he was gonna die, and I said, you know what? This is my exit. I need to leave this job. And fortunately enough, the universe fixed it where this company didn't think I was being a great friend to go home and check on my friend. They thought I was going to the competitive company. So I was able to get my like non-compete and all that. So I basically was unemployed getting paid for 6 months, which was a blessing.
Wow.
And then I ended up getting a job that actually paid me more than that position of being something that I felt comfortable doing, which was a field director at that point. Now, I've learned those skill sets and a lot of the things I had to do with that job. I'm like, honestly, I could have done it then. Like, I'm doing it now. I could have done it, but I was so afraid that I was going to disappoint and fail. So I don't look at that as a failure because I don't know. When I think I'm about to fail, for some reason, I tap into like my higher being and I'm like, this cannot fail. And it works out, and that's why I tell people like, don't be afraid to like manifest and follow your dreams because like ultimately, and you even told me this, like you told me once that I have a parachute that's going to catch me. So like even when I left like my last job and started my own business, I might have had some doubt, and I was just so fortunate I had like you and Caress in my ear, and I remember you specifically saying that there's a parachute for you, like, and you're gonna be fine. And what was funny
jump,
to
and
me
the
was,
universe will cast a net and catch you.
you said that to me, and a year later, you were in a very similar situation, and you were doubting it, and I used your same advice on you. And I was like, you literally told me last year, lady, that this just all this for me. And you also can have this.
I just have to tell you though, it's so funny because I'm gonna be completely transparent with you. There's been times where I've been like, I don't know, this isn't like I'm so like upset and like this is not gonna work. And you're like, it's gonna be fine. It's all gonna be taken care of. And I'm like, F you, Dwight. I love you. But like low key, like inner me is like, F you. I want you to just tell me you suck. You're going to fail. Or like, you know what? It's hard. It's hard. Like, what's the backup here? And I'm like, damn it. I'm like, because it's like, I know that you are so right. And I need to hear that in those moments. And I seriously am so grateful for it. But like, I think recently I was just like, I'm really happy. And you're like, it's all going to be okay. And I'm like, but it's not. And it's not okay right now. You know what I mean?
Oh my God. We have to go on break. We'll be right back. Are you missing the wit and charm of Sex and the City? Well, get ready for a fresh twist with Just 1 Minute, the micro series on TikTok that's serving up all the drama, love, and laughs you crave. Join me, Dwight Allen O'Neill, as I navigate life, love, and everything in between, 1 minute at a time. It's just like Sex and the City, but quicker, edgier, and made for TikTok. Follow O'Neill Appeal and indulge in the new series everyone's talking about, Just 1 Minute, because who says you need an hour to tell a great story?
And we are back, and I've realized something that is very important here, that Dwight and I, who knows if we're going to remain friends at the end of this season of this podcast or whatever, because we're revealing so much information about each other in this podcast.
You don't like my pep talk. So I can give you a pep talk. I cannot. Yeah, whatever. But I'm not sitting here like I'm perfect. I really do think there is around love. I definitely have some trauma around failing, which is why I avoid relationships, or I put myself in relationships that I know are not going to work out in the end.
Wait, hold on. Stop. This is so great because I'm going to laugh so hard. This is what I'm going to start saying to you when you're like, oh yeah, I went on a date. I'll be like, oh, you mean like with the relationship that you know is not going to work out? That's what I'm going to start asking you, that question.
Oh my God. That's that Florida energy. I'll never forget. I was in Florida for a friend's bachelor party, and we have a friend that's like super, super sarcastic. And so one of the friends was on his phone, like on a dating app. He goes, oh my God, like this guy's so hot. I'm going to message him. And then the friend goes, oh, so you're going to lead someone else down the road that's never going to end anywhere or never go anywhere. And then we're like, oh my God, that was so harsh. He was like, he said you're going to lure someone else down a road that goes nowhere.
Oh my God. It's like the worst yellow brick road ever.
Yes. Oh my God. So yeah, I totally, I think that, I don't know, I definitely want to apply my fearlessness around like my career and ambition to other elements of my life, for sure. But I've gotten better. I have.
I have something to add to that. So here's a question for you. Do you think, okay, I'm gonna share actually a quote, and then I do have a question for you. But it's so interesting. Here's my question, but I want to follow up with a quote before you if you don't mind answering. One is like, do you feel like you can get really good advice, like for example, from people who are not like haven't really had great relationships or haven't been successful with money and they have failed? Can you feel like you can get good advice from those people? That's part of it. And because I say this, because my meditation teacher, Dave G, who I feel like we've talked about a lot in these, last couple episodes, he said something that was really interesting. He goes, I want to learn from the person, for example, who's like, who's created this chocolate molten cake that has failed making it 12,000 times versus the person that has made it right on the first. So I'm just curious what your thoughts are, because I feel like they're not connected, but they are in this way of like, can we learn from those people who have failed but still maybe don't have success? Or is there more value to people who have been successful? I don't know.
So I'm going to say two things. First thing I'm going to say is those that can't do, teach. So I agree with that. And the second thing is you just called me a failure. You called me a failure, guys. But you know what? I don't have a fear of failure, but I do have a fear of rejection.
Ooh, rejection is protection. Rejection is protection.
I have a fear of rejection,
okay,
not failure.
But I will say this, I actually don't look at it. I don't look at it as a failure but what I'm saying is it's even my own insecurities. Like when I have somebody that comes to me that sees me for like, I love talking about career stuff, especially with clients. But when I have people that like see me for relationships, it's always really scary because I feel like I haven't necessarily mastered that. Like, you know what I mean? Like we had like Christina, the relationship boss, and I'm not saying I'm bad at relationships. I just feel like I've gone through divorce. You know what I mean? Like I've just had that, like for me, sometimes I don't always feel adequate. You know what I mean? To share that, because I'm like, am I a failure? Because I have, had a divorce. I think about these
not
things.
many people can say they've gone through a divorce and they're still friends with their ex. So that's a win for me right there. Like some of us
is
go
it?
through
I don't know.
divorces and we break up all the marriage pictures, we ripped up the marriage license. And I didn't do those things. The person I married may have, but I told them on the podcast, so I can't say if it was him or not. But or cut up your suit. I didn't do those things, but perhaps someone I know did. But I may have told that person I won't talk about them on the podcast. So I kept my word.
No, but it's really interesting. I mean, one thing I want to say that I think is really helpful about failure is that it's so important to focus on your comeback rate. And so it's like, okay, we know that life is going to take us out. We know that things are going to happen, unexpected events, even what happened with you, with like your friend being really sick, taking you out of that position. And I think that we focus so much sometimes like on, that letdown, that we forget that like the comeback rate is really where to put our energy, because maybe this thing that you experienced would have taken you months to get over, before, but now maybe it takes you a month, or maybe it takes you a week or a day. And I think that it's really building up your spiritual tool belt is what I call it. It's like to having these different tools, because I think as we grow and as we evolve, we do require different tools, especially in different situations. What might help me through a breakup will be very different than helping me in a career loss, right? But I think that that's what we really get to focus on, is the comeback rate. Is like, what does that look like? What does that really look like?
I love that. Also, too, like, it's not about how you fall; it's about how you get up. So like,
well, you have that strong,
gracefully, like, get up. Yeah.
But you mentioned something about like how you go about. You're like, I don't view it as failure, and it's like, but that's so not where a lot of people land. Like that takes a different level of mindset and elevation to really own. You know what I mean? Like it's just a very like that's not typically
for me,
I think
not
most
an
people.
option. Like so recently, I've expressed this. So my company has gone through some financial hardships this year. Shouts out to everyone that works for me that listens to the podcast. But we've had some financial hardships. I have to be mindful as to what I say on here. Oh God, why did I think of this when we had the breakup episode last week? Anyways, but no. And recently we had to do some restructuring.
Yeah.
Which is very unfortunate. And, I was explaining to the team, like, this cannot fail. Like, my reputation is on the line. My business partner's reputation is on this line. We've worked in the beauty industry for collectively, like, over 40 years. Separately, I've been in this business almost 30 on my own, Like, I started when I was 5. And, like, seriously, like, this it will not fail. We have the formula. It honestly just takes us bossing up, making the decisions that are needed to really take this business to the next level. Like, and I feel it in my spirit, in my pit. Like, we found a white space. We're tapped into it, and we're doing some incredible things, like even working with you to really bring some things to life. And like, just changing the beauty scope, the beauty space as we know it. And, failing for me is not an option. And I don't look at it as a failure. Like sometimes you have to pivot and you learn and you move on. So, yeah.
Yeah. Question for you. How do you not look at it as a failure? Just for the people out there that like, perhaps like, cause that is very advanced. I want to just that one of our, by the way, one of our listeners, when we did the crystal episode, they were like, did you talk about butt plugs? And I'm like,
did you find it? Did you find my butt plug? My staff is listening to this.
I was like,
oh my God.
We might. I was like, we might have. Wait, no.
We talked about yoni stones.
Hell yeah, yoni stones are where it's at. You know what's so interesting is like we talked about yoni stones, and of course it would manifest and appear. Where I was working, it was so cute. I was like, I don't know why, but I think that the owner of the space where I do my Reiki sessions at, she was so cute. She's like, we just ordered a whole new she's like showing me, she's like a whole new set of like everything to take care of like your women's health. And I'm like, oh, and it's like, it's a vibe. And I was like, but where are the yoni eggs? And she's like, what is that? I'm like, wait, no, we need to like discuss and like have some yoni eggs.
And yeah,
here.
man,
Yeah.
we have prostate needs over here as well. Hello.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's really important. But I think,
But no,
you know,
seriously, I want to answer your question. How do I not look at this
yeah.
failure? I think it's a lot of just self-work, mindfulness practices. I'm a meditator. I'm a journal. I journal things, and I really do like I said, my New Year's resolution this year is like finding the silver lining in everything. And I know that everything that happens is a test. There's some type of lesson. It's for my growth, and I really do look at situations as to what can I get from this. So, prime example, on an app, I literally was publicly cheated on by 23 people. I mean, cheated on my partner
Wait,
cheated on me with 23
on
people.
an app?
Yeah, it came out on the app, like that he was cheating came out on the app. And
Wait,
around the time I
what?
was, yeah, this all
Wow.
happened on Bigo. And at the time,
Oh
my
my
brand was
God.
beginning to grow and like I was becoming popular in the app. And this situation could have honestly destroyed me because what most people do in that app when something negative happens is they immediately go into fights, wars, blah, 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 blah. What did I do? I hired someone to make a cover of a book. I lied and said I wrote a book, hadn't wrote anything yet, and I put it up for pre-sales. It created a lot of energy around it. And this is where I got the
Wow.
lesson about like energy. Like energy is a real thing, guys. I was so angry with this man and I was so embarrassed. I was so hurt. Every time I got upset with him, I would pray and I would write. I would pray and I was writing. I literally checked myself into a hotel because I didn't want to be we were living together and
Oh
everything
my
reminded me
God.
of him. And I wrote a book over the weekend, hired an editor to actually like, structure the shit. And
Right.
I remember taking a walk with my bestie and I was telling the situation. I was like, I just want to email his church and like share all these text messages and share all this information and share all these people that he's been sleeping with. Like, I just want to get revenge. And my friend was like, let karma get him, Dwight. It's going to work out. And I said these words, well, call me karma, bitch. and
I
so,
love that.
so I did a live panel in the app with a very popular influencer, and she interviewed me about the situation, and I announced the book. I had 200 pre-sales within 10 minutes, kid you not. And for some reason,
Shut up.
I was
Wow.
totally making this up in the moment, like I really was. I was like, yeah, and it's a book, and it's going to be a television show. I didn't know it was going to be a television show. Fast forward, me and my friend are talking, and he's like, well, Here TV has been wanting to work with us on a project. So we end up reaching out to them. I pitched the project to Here TV. They bought the rights of the book. They turned it into a television show. So not only did I have a book that came out, my book came out on October the 7th. The TV show came out a week later, which picked up a year later with a book left off. I took all of my pain, upsetness, hurt energy, and I put it into that. I remember at the same time, I didn't have a car. He had our vehicle. Like, we used his car. I ended up getting a lump sum of money where I went and bought my dream car, which was a Jeep Wrangler, in a matter of days of all this happening because I refused to allow myself to go into defeat and failure. I took that energy and I put it into building myself. I put it into not allowing it to affect me. I've never prayed so much in my life. And then it dawned on me 6 months later, once I had got the opportunity to be the host of this app, I became the face of this app. They gave me this. It just literally, I had to go through this situation to elevate my brand. Like, going through that breakup really elevated me to the next level in my career. And although that shit hurt, I thought about, for instance, Mary J. Blige. They say she made the best music when she was going through shit. Oftentimes, the best art comes through pain. It comes through suffering. And this has been one of the most successful projects I've probably have ever touched on my own in my career. And it all happened because of that situation. And my silver lining was I had to go through that to evolve and elevate in so many other areas of my life. So don't look at the shit as failure. That shit is a lesson. That shit is meant to elevate you.
It's your next book. It's your,
to the next level. Yeah. So, that's what it was about.
No, first off, wow. I mean, thank you for sharing and commending, but also like, holy shit, in the sense of like that just is so big, because I feel like you didn't like it's one thing to say, okay, how like for me, like, okay, like I think about how can you take your pain and make it into your purpose, which you clearly did. You took that pain and you made it into a purpose. However, you even were more bold to not having this thing done yet and being able to sell it and pitch it and put it out there. So like, I just feel like that also needs to be recognized in the story of that. Like, you weren't like, okay, like, going through the process, well, let me start. It's like, no, you actually just started out by like being like, here's the desired outcome. This is where we're going. And then I'll let the rest of it fall into place.
And
That
it actually is a good book. Like people, and I told my mom, like all, because the book is loosely based on our relationship, and again, manifesting. So my character in the book, his name is O'Neill. He's an influencer, and what's crazy is like when all this was happening, I had maybe 6,000 followers in that app. The 2 days before my book came out, I had 100,000 followers in the app.
Wow.
After my book came out, I had like 200,000. When I left this app this year, I had over 5 million followers, like in this app particularly. And it's crazy because in the book, my character was a lot bigger than who I was at that point. And I literally manifested like his life that I wrote because I exaggerated him more fabulous than I am. You read the book now, you're like, oh, he had all that stuff, which was so interesting. And the other thing that was really interesting with the book too was the things that I honestly wanted to do to him, like the revenge piece, I let O'Neill do it. Like there's a scene where I cut up all his underwear, I didn't do that.
Oh my God, I love that so much.
But I was able to like do the things that I wanted to do to him in the book. And it felt good because now I can read it and laugh at it. Didn't do those things in real life. But, once my character found out he was cheating with all these people, he decided to, get revenge. Read the book. It's good.
You know what's
Collar Confessions on Amazon.
you know what's so interesting though is I go back to like that what I said about David G. He'd rather learn from the person that like tried to attempt to make the cake 12 times and the person that got it right in the first. It's so interesting that book was what was a success, that people were like so relating to what that was about versus if you had just been like like put in a different spin. Like it had this different energy because we don't honor that enough. Like, you know what I mean? We don't talk about that enough. Yeah.
And then even with Here TV, like it caused us with my production company with Dane, shouts out to you guys, Nova Novus Productions. We end up getting a deal with the network to produce content for them. So we produce a new something once a year. And it was the #1 show on the network, and they wanted to do a season 2 of Collar Confessions, and I didn't want to because I'm like, I've healed from that. I don't want to open that wound up again. And we were able to sell our show Go-Go to them, which was a bigger hit than Collar Confessions. So Collar Confessions opened the door for so many different things. So although, that relationship didn't go well, and, and I actually feel bad for him because we did have a conversation like literally 2 weeks before the book came out, and he wanted me to stop the book. And I'm like, I said to myself, if you had came to me like 2 months prior, I wouldn't have done it because I had to have 2 months to like get the process going, of print and all that. I said, but you didn't. Like, there's nothing I can do now. And I said, my advice to you though is, how can you monopolize on this too? I said, I'd even be willing to go on.
Wow. See,
where,
either that I was a big
person. To be friends now. I said, how can you monopolize on this opportunity? And he couldn't. Like, because he was still angry with me. And I'm like, I said, the truth of the matter is I have basically taken something that you were passionate about, this story. I've named it after, something that you're affiliated with. It's mine in the public's eye, but we can make this ours. And I'm willing to make this ours because I want you to benefit from this. And he said no. And I was like, well, I'm taking it to the bank. And that's what I did. I took it and ran with it. And it really did elevate my career in so many different ways. And he could have had that same elevation, but he chose to be hurt still and in his feelings and not take accountability even to why this all happened. Like, let's keep it facts. None of this would have happened to you if you had kept your dick in your pants. Like, none of this would have happened. You cheated on me.
That should be the title of the next book. None of this would have happened. A story about how to keep your dick in your pants.
But no, it's serious. So I'm like, I get you're hurt and angry, but like you need to take accountability versus playing the victim. Like, don't play the victim because I'm a smart bitch. Let's not do that. I was very smart.
Yes.
And you're mad because I was smarter than you. You acted from emotions. I acted from strategy. And I strategized and had a best-selling book, a television show, and now I'm sitting here on my podcast while you're probably listening from Texas.
And on that note, cheers.
And there you have it.
And
Tell
listen,
them the story. So, am I afraid of failing? Hell no, I ain't afraid because I'm a winner, baby. I'm a winner. And Jess, you're a winner too. Okay? So the next time you're ready to give up, I'm going to say again, you know it's going to work out because it always does.
And I'm going to be like, it doesn't feel like that.
It doesn't feel like that. I'm not saying that have your moment, guys, like feel it, and release it. But like, just know ultimately it works out the way it's supposed to. And you create your greatness. All you have to do is stay inspired.
Oh, it's so sweet. I have to add to that too, really quickly. It's not a breakdown; it's a breakthrough. You broke through.
You broke through.
Yep.
I think that's today's show, isn't it?
Yeah, that was. I feel inspired. So thank you. Love you.
Oh, I love you. We love you guys. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget next week's Halloween. Woo!
Yes. I'm going to fill out my costume. Just kidding. I love you. Bye.
Love you too.